Hello and welcome to the Amber Stitt Show. I am your host, Amber Stitt, and today we welcome Iris Ortega, the Community Engagement Manager at the Live and Learn Women's Nonprofit Organization. Welcome, Iris. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, Amber. Thank you so much for having us.
For all the listeners that haven't met Iris yet or they haven't learned about Live and Learn, we're going to discuss a little bit about how the organization helps in Arizona and who they serve. And I was lucky enough to meet Iris through my community, my network, with women in insurance and financial services. Being a part of that organization, there was another person at Live and Learn that had connected with me. I think we had met at maybe a coffee meetup. And then next thing you know, I'm meeting Iris and the team, and was fortunate enough to be part of their Hope Blooms committee. And we'll have more about that later. But that's where I have met Iris. And I think I had an anniversary on LinkedIn the other day that it's almost maybe 1 year potentially, or like we're coming up at least over 6 months, but of just talking together. And so that's pretty fun. So I thought, since the audience might not know about you and your group, let's kick it off with talking a little bit about your background, your history, and then what you do at Live and Learn.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm the community engagement manager. So really, what I do is go out into the community, connect with individuals like yourselves who are very passionate about supporting women in our community, and just engage them with our mission. Our mission is to break the cycle of generational poverty. We'll get into what that means in a little bit. But I'm actually very blessed and fortunate. I always tell everybody I'm extra connected to the mission because I started off as a client myself in 2012. So that's just a little extra something right there for you guys.
So when you're saying client, that means that you had gone through the 2-year program that is available to people that meet and get into the Live and Learn. I guess we'll call it a program, but how does that even begin? How does someone start and become what you guys say is a client? How do you decide who can be one to work with Live and Learn?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, Live and Learn works with women. So that's the main thing. You have to be a woman or identify as a woman in order to receive services. And we work with women who have been affected by domestic violence, extreme poverty, and homelessness. We know that those are the 3 key areas that are really impacting affecting families in poverty right now.
And I know you mentioned breaking the cycle of generational poverty. Can you give us an idea of what that looks like? And when you're working with clients, and you mentioned those 3 parts, what, I guess maybe from a statistical perspective, what constitutes generational poverty?
Yeah, the best way that I could explain generational poverty is by explaining situational poverty. So there's 2 types of poverty.
Okay.
We talk about situational poverty and generational poverty. So situational poverty is a family that is affected by something that happened, a situation that happened that is shifting the amount of income coming into the family. So this could be maybe a parent lost a job, maybe a divorce, maybe an illness that suddenly arose. So situational poverty typically affects a family for a period of 6 months or less. Okay. And it can, typically you can overcome situational poverty, and really it doesn't have any long-term negative impact on the children or the adults in the family. Resources like rental assistance, food boxes, those are very helpful in situational poverty. Whereas generational poverty is actually a vicious trap that occurs when a parent's poverty permanently affects the lives of their children. Okay. And so this can happen from, generation to generation.
Okay, so obviously generational, multiple decades. You're mentioning the children. So when it comes from the situational piece, there could be, the most recent one would be COVID for people, potentially. That was one that all of us can relate to. Yeah. So I feel like the family element is the big one. There's parents, obviously that's affecting parents, but it's like a trickle down pattern of behavior potentially that could come from living in this, the first step of poverty. But if it sticks around, is that kind of this key element is making sure the children and how they're affected. I feel like that's a big piece of this.
It's huge. I mean, we know that generational poverty will impact children in the family long term. We know that their educational, experiences, if they're able to maintain a job, even their health, believe it or not,
Their health.
yep, children in generational poverty are more likely to suffer from chronic illnesses, heart disease, diabetes, and so on.
And you're saying children.
Yes.
So it's interesting because as I work in financial services, we'll see that the caretakers, historically female, not always the case, but the caretakers tend to have the chronic illness factor. If they're taking care of someone that's disabled, maybe the adult parent, grandparents. I didn't even think about the dynamic that could actually translate down over into the children's lives the same way.
Yeah, and funny enough, Amber, Live and Learn does not serve children, so we don't work with the children directly, but the work that we're doing with the women in the family,
Right.
mom, is having a multi-generational impact.
Yeah.
We get that question a lot. Why do you guys work with women only? And the truth is that women have 79% of low-income families in Arizona. We know that their income directly affects the child's lifelong well-being, happiness, productivity, sustainability. And we also know that women are chronically unemployed, underemployed, and dependent on government assistance.
Okay, so that's where I was going to head next was Arizona, kind of the Maricopa County. Like, what are you seeing? But if anything, we've talked about leadership on the podcast and just kind of ways to have more resilience as we have things that we're going to face in life. So I think it does start with the parents. If the parents have some of the leadership and the tools and the resources, hopefully that's going to take care of the children too. There's certainly work that is there on that pediatric level into the young adult, but that's where I think the foundational part of this is helping the adult, the female. You said 79% of female households
In
have poverty. Is
Arizona,
that what you said?
79% of low-income families are headed by women. Yes.
Wow. That's amazing stat, obviously not a good one. So the more that we can do to support that, and it sounds like the programs, the education, tell us a little bit more about the curriculum, because it's not like you provide just a safe place. There's so much more to that. So do you mind diving into the curriculum and kind of what a client might receive?
Yeah, so we have what we call our pathway out of poverty. And we cover a few different areas, including education, career planning, health, life skills, financial literacy, and health. Health is one of my favorite ones. We always say if mom isn't healthy, if the woman isn't healthy, she's not going to be able, she's going to have more barriers to overcome. I remember not too long ago, and we hear this in children, right? Like children, if you can't see the board, how are you going to be able to get your work done if you can't see what's on the school board? Similarly, if we're sending women to school, to college, and they're having issues with their teeth, dental issues,
Oh
vision
gosh,
issues,
yeah. If you're not feeling
hearing
well,
issues, they are more likely to drop out of the program, right? And so we're covering the whole person. It's a very holistic approach, and it's a very individualized approach, which means that no two women will receive the same services. We really do a full assessment, and depending on that, we kind of guide our next steps.
the custom approach, that is really neat. I feel like in business, there's so many ways to automate and be efficient, but it is so important for me to have a boutique approach with my clients because not everyone is the same. So the fact that you customize and tailor to that person and I feel like removing barriers. We talked about being sick earlier today, just not feeling well. What's that like when you show up to try to do your job? Let's just say your job, if you're not feeling well. When you take that down to the family level, if you are, like you're saying, the health, if you're not feeling well, it is hard to be present, especially for children, when you're not on your A game. So if there's some other things like the dental work and just other problems that are arising, I can imagine how distracting that could be.
I mean, we know that, women that have experienced domestic abuse, poverty, homelessness, they already have enough barriers to overcome, right? We're talking about childcare barriers, transportation barriers. So if we can take care of things like the health pieces that might be as simple as getting a pair of glasses, getting some dental work done, those are easy, right? Those are really easy things that we can support them with.
Well, every human deserves that. So that's
Absolutely.
okay. Is there anything, and this, I'm going to throw you like maybe a little curveball. I want the fellow audience to really know what might be happening in our backyards in Arizona. Like you talked about 79%. You're mentioning homelessness. I think people forget that there's really things happening, even though we can't see it. So is there any like highlights, like a top 3 to 5 that people need to know so that that could help motivate them to want to help you in your organization?
Yeah, so, there's so many, of course, and the statistics have shifted a lot recently due to COVID, so our numbers are a lot higher. I don't want to give you specific numbers because I don't want to mess it up, but
Yeah.
one thing that I always tell people is that poverty doesn't look like the homeless man in the bus stop, right? Like a lot of people think homelessness looks like you have to be out on the street, panhandling, things like that. That's not exactly what it looks like. We have to pay attention, and it could mean like our neighbor, our daughter, our friend who might be struggling to get their basic needs met. And just because, they look well, they're doing well, that does not mean that they're not struggling and could use the support.
Yeah, I
So
think
something to really, really, really take with you. Another thing is domestic violence is a focus point for Live and Learn. And, financial independence is huge. The main reason that women come back to abusive relationships is because they are not financially independent. Each time that a woman will leave, the aggression at home gets worse and really putting her life in danger.
what does that mean exactly? Is it because the person that's being left causes so many more problems? The resources run out, and the mom, the woman comes back to the home. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what that means. The woman feels like, you know what, I could do this. I'm going to leave. They leave. They run out of resources. They're struggling to meet their basic needs. They come back into the home where the abuse is happening, and then the abuse actually gets worse. I think the statistic is women will try to leave 7 times before they're
7.
successful. 7 times. And each time, the risk of death, it gets higher and higher.
Oh my gosh, that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
The financial literacy piece, it's important for me. I feel like, especially when I work in financial services, I feel like there's a place for people if they really want to be and serve people in finance. It's not always about being this accounting brain and being book smart. I know that I believe you guys are working on financial courses for the clients. And I think you might even have, were there some affiliates? I feel like you guys have won some maybe, I want to say like Bank of America, or you have some sponsors that are really trying to advocate for the clients. And so I think you've had kind of a standing set of sponsors, but then I feel like you guys are developing more lately. Is there anything you can share about that?
Yeah, financial literacy is huge. In every step of the program, we make sure that we're providing those skills to the women and really walking them through what that looks like at each different stage, right? Because financial literacy is important, but some of the skills that you need after you get a job are different than when you're in school, right? You might have to learn to save differently. Now you have a big paycheck coming in. What does that mean? Now you have to worry about retirement and so on. So there's just so many pieces, and each different time that we have a step up, there's a few different things that we go through. But yeah, so the women in our program are receiving financial literacy every month through their client coordinators, and that means every month where they're doing transportation plans, childcare plans. We are talking financial literacy.
Yeah.
But also we have some amazing support from volunteers. We have a long-standing volunteer, Daniel from Bank of America, who provides some amazing workshops, and we've seen some great outcomes. I think his last workshop was a huge hit, and women just absolutely love it. The things that he's learning. Something that I hear a lot is that he really meets them where they're at and doesn't push more, right? Like we oftentimes say, you have to save 100 a paycheck, or you have to save X amount, or you have to go open up these savings account. The reality is that they might just not be there. And
Right.
so meeting them where they're at is really important. We also have another amazing volunteer, Teresa, who does one-on-one coaching, and unbelievable, right? Like just that one-on-one connection. The last story that I heard was one woman who actually was able to pay off some of her debt, take a bunch of stuff off her credit report, and bump up her score. And
Oh,
this woman is going to be getting ready to purchase a home soon. So this is important, right? Her family is growing. She needs to be in a good place. So she's making those steps necessary now to prepare for that.
it's interesting that you guys have pathways out of poverty. The framework that I've mentioned before is the pathways of peak performance. There's focus areas. Number one is focusing on talents, and that really goes into understanding who you are. The second part would be focusing on money. So it's so important for me, for people to have the confidence that not everyone receives information the same way. Some like to read books, some like a video or a workshop, something in person. Your way is not going to be the same as everybody else's. And so it sounds like with the customization, you guys are really paying attention to that. And having the comprehension of finance, there's so many facets of that. But if we can build some of the basic kind of routine, budgeting, like you said, even if the money's not there, but we're training our brains to have the confidence that there's a system that works for that household, that individual, that mom, eventually there's going to be some success because you're setting that framework, that groundwork, and then building in those habits. And it sounds like you guys are giving them the resources for that. So I love that about the program. Is there anything that we haven't covered that we should know about, that the audience should learn about before we wrap this up?
That really Live and Learn has amazing results, right? We have an 85% success rate, and we couldn't make this happen without the support of individuals that are supporting Live and Learn, like yourself, of course, helping us out with our 2023 Hope Blooms brunch. But individual donors and partners, volunteers, we couldn't make it happen. So they're vital to our mission. And, please reach out to us. We'd love to get you involved. There's different ways. I'd love to talk to everyone about the Arizona tax credit, which is a way that everybody can contribute to Live and Learn, and get everything back when they file their tax return. So definitely lots of opportunity here. We'll be speaking on Domestic Violence Awareness Month later on. And,
Yep.
I'm excited to engage and connect with every listener out here. I hope to see you guys out in October, supporting and advocating for women in Maricopa County.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I feel like people should know there's these pretty awesome, you guys do this breakdown, and I'll link this up if I can, of what they can do to help. You guys literally show if you do, and I don't know if I have the denominations correctly, but like $20, $25 a month gives this person XYZ. It makes it more tangible. So people can get on a monthly program with you guys, right? And they can support. Can you remind me? It's like either gas or it's groceries or something for the kids. What are some of those little packages people can do? It's not that much money, but it's something that can just reap. It can do so much for people.
Yeah, I don't have the breakdown in front of me, but I will tell you that it's super attainable, right? When we say $10 a month, that's our morning coffee run. So it's definitely not going to make a huge dent in your pocket, but it will make all the difference in somebody's life. And so those $10 a month will equal to, 120 a year more. We have some donors in our giving circle that are donating their tax credit that way. And it truly does make an impact. And something that Live and Learn also is a member of the SNAP-CAN program, which means that we get reimbursed for from DES for
DES, get a
programming.
reimbursement.
Yeah. So what that
Okay.
means for donors is that your donation actually goes further. So if
Okay.
you donate $1, DES will match about
Oh,
38% of
wow.
that. And so really it does make a huge impact. So
Okay.
help us out and visit our webpage, engage with us. Something that everybody could do today is just go to social media, follow us to stay connected and find out what's going on. We're actually running our Target Circle campaign
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
So if you shop at Target, go to Target Circle and vote for Live and Learn, help us get a contribution from Target that way.
Okay.
So there's definitely, lots of different ways that anybody can get involved in very quick and easy ways to do it right now. But for those who would like more information, I'd love to connect with you and tell you about how you can make a difference.
Okay, I really appreciate all the information, Iris, and I'm going to do my best to link up as much as I can and give people, is it okay to have, there's a way for them to reach out to you directly if they have more questions?
Yes, anybody can email hope@liveandlearnaz.org. So it's hope@liveandlearnaz.org, and I'm happy to give you guys more information and anything that you're interested in. Keep an eye out on our website, our calendar of events. We'll have some things posted on there at the beginning of September, specifically for Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are doing kind of a launch pre-October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is October. And so there'll be a schedule of events to pay attention to rolling into that month. So I'll make sure that we connect on that too. So for everybody that's listening, even if you're not local in Arizona, there are ways that you can help this organization on a national level. And I'll be able to be a resource there too. So thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks, Iris. I really appreciate your time. And I will be seeing you soon for the Hope Blooms brunch, luncheon, and more about that to come. So thanks, everybody, for being here, and have a great day.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Amber Stitch Show. For more information about the podcast, books, articles, and more, please visit me at amberstitt.com. Until next week, enjoy your journey at home and at work. Thank you for listening.